Okay, well, let's get started. So, we are having a really interesting webinar today. We're going to be talking about driving digital transformation with intelligent experiences, automation, and optimization with ServiceNow. But maybe another way to say that is we're going to talk about engaging AI within your ServiceNow environment. And that is something that not many companies have had experience with, but we have. So, great opportunity for us to talk about something really interesting for your business that can drive the optimization of your service desk, drive the optimization of the way that your employees interact with your IT organization, drive efficiency within the way that your IT organization executes on its automated processes. And we're going to go into some really interesting ways that you can take advantage of that today. And we have a great team here. So I'd love to start by introducing that team that's going to be going through this content and also introducing some demos to you today and showing how this works in real time. I'll kick off. My name is Nathan Wisnowski. I'm Concurrency CTO. Been here at Concurrency for about 21 years and really excited for this topic today. I've been working with ITSM for some time, and this the idea of helping to drive down the time to resolution for end users, helping them to be able to experience the kinds of efficiencies that we're bringing into the consumer space for a lot of the self-service virtual agents and platforms that you build there, bringing that into ServiceNow and creating value for them internal to the organization is so impressive. So a lot of things we're going to talk about today that are going to really help you to create a better experience for all of your consumers and create an experience that really makes them delight interacting with the IT organization, and then also drives efficiencies across other processes within your business. So to introduce the rest of the team, I'm going to hand it over to Brian Shrippy, and Brian's going to start kicking it off by walking through everybody else.
Thanks, Nate. So my name is Brian Shrippy. I am the lead technical architect and solutions architect for the ServiceNow practice at Concurrency. I've been here for about 10 years and have close to, I think, about 70 ServiceNow deployments under my belt. And I've been in the ITSM space for about 21 years, and the automation space for around 15. So myself and my team, comprised of my right-hand man, Michael Dugan, who is our senior systems engineer and core developer for the ServiceNow team, James Asbury, and Matt Ratajczak, who's a recent addition to our group. They collectively make up our entire ServiceNow practice, and we have extremely deep understandings in about 8 core platform architectures, in addition to custom app development and automation integrations. And we'll be presenting some interesting, unique aspects of ServiceNow's AI functionality and going through a few demos of some new announcements from ServiceNow, some existing platform pieces that already exist that you can leverage in different ways to enhance your organization, as well as some process workflow automations and improvement initiatives across your enterprise. So let's get into it. So there was a recent discussion from McKinsey where they discussed something called the transformation imperative. And it's with this resurgence of data and the amount of leveraging we can do with things like machine learning, natural language understanding, and conversational intelligence, there is an extreme amount of benefit that can be leveraged internal to your organization to speed up first call interactions, end user facing interactions where you're leveraging AI to enhance the experiences and reduce phone calls from front-end portal interactions, as well as leveraging AI in your organization to speed up those interactions, to leave your first tier, help desk support groups to focus on more important things than helping end users, check on the status of a request or facilitate easy interactions that could be transitioned off to something like a virtual agent chatbot or a automated process or another mechanism to enhance their interaction with IT without having to physically call or email or go over phone. Now, ServiceNow doesn't strictly call out their platform as having artificial intelligence. They refer to it as something called augmented intelligence. So, what they're doing is they are taking a grouping of artificial intelligence and machine learning and conversational intelligence and bundling them in a variety of different areas across every instanced version of ServiceNow and taking those anonymized learnings and being able to generate models for different areas of your business to help you make smarter business decisions and also help you increase efficiency and productivity and also help you with prediction. A lot of times when we're working with end users and we're trying to determine where things are going, um, a lot of times that's left up to the analyst. And with the advent of machine learning and augmented intelligence, we can now offload that to ServiceNow as a system and allow that system to help us with that routing and analysis of any incoming work item types. So now we tend to think of this in three different domains. So intelligent experiences, which is kind of your front end to the augmented intelligence for ServiceNow, which is things like virtual agent, your portal experience, um, and front ending those in a really intuitive portal experience and chat experience such that your end users don't necessarily have to call it somebody. They can go to a chat bot, they can fill out a request that's ran through an automated process to get their request done seamlessly and with little interaction from the backend IT support staff. And combining that with something called intelligent automation, which is taking your processes and running all of your ticket workloads through a mechanism to validate where things are in your organization that can benefit from automation. A lot of times companies go into this and don't really understand like, hey, where are our areas that are ripe for automation that we can spend considerable effort and reduce the amount of time our analysts are spending on those interactions and automate them in a manner that drives efficiency and decreases time spent. And then intelligent optimization. So where we're going with this is being able to take a look at your processes and understand them in a manner that can help you facilitate bottlenecks, root cause analysis of where things tend to slow down in your organization. A lot of times when we're doing analytics for our ITSM or our customer service management modules, I mean, even HR, there are processes put in place that don't necessarily get looked at from an audit perspective to find out where those bottlenecks occur. And if they are, it's more of a manual process. It's people taking the time to sit and look and audit. And what if we could put those workloads into a machine learning model and have that drive outcomes for us and take learnings from analyzing broad swaths of data inside of our org and leverage that to make smarter business decisions. So we're going to kind of navigate through each of these and showcase what we think the core benefits are for each of these and how they can affect your business and enhance it. So we're going to start with intelligent experiences. Now, we consider that to be the front end of ServiceNow. So it's basically, the ability to quickly deploy AI powered chatbots, being able to talk to employees where they are through mechanisms of virtual agent or Teams integrations or Slack integrations. Meeting the customers where they are is extremely important when we're trying to drive customer interaction on something like a front end facing portal. Now, one of the things that came out of Knowledge 23 is ServiceNow's partnership with Microsoft and OpenAI and taking the generative AI capabilities of OpenAI and leveraging them inside of ServiceNow's data sets. So ServiceNow has large swaths of data that can benefit from OpenAI's generative AI capability, not only on the front end for your customer experiences, but also on the back end and being able to ask questions of your ServiceNow data in a more fluid uh, manner and get that information back in a synonymized format. So one thing they're doing is allowing you to leverage OpenAI's backend intelligence models in Azure such that your data is secure on the back end of your infrastructure and not out in the open. You might have heard that a lot of companies have put a stop to allowing their administrative personnel access to send things to OpenAI because that data is out in the open. Well, now with this partnership, they are allowing us to connect directly to OpenAI's infrastructure on the back end, and that way it's internal to our own Azure instances and not going out to OpenAI, which unlocks a whole plethora of possibilities.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most common misconceptions about deploying OpenAI for business purposes is this belief that leveraging it is going to expose your information out to the broader ecosystem. That's true for using the public instance of ChatGPT, but it's not true for when you leverage OpenAI as a component of Azure for your own tenant, which is where a lot of the scenarios that are being deployed outside of ServiceNow for chatbots or for automation processes or for data mining are taking advantage of it for a private instance of OpenAI. And in this context, OpenAI is being deployed also in a private instance for your individual ServiceNow information that's private to you. So it's very important to understand the distinction between those two things because sometimes organizations get a little bit concerned about that, and it's important to understand that this is a private instance versus the public instance that ChatGPT is using.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Nate. So now one of the core tenets is conversational AI. So deploying virtual agent across your organization to handle the how can I help you? What's the status? I need a request. I need this opened. I'm looking for this. I need to understand this piece of knowledge. A lot of that, especially in this day and age, we are starting to see a shift from people who like to have conversations on the phone to people who enjoy not having to talk to a person and having the request facilitated with no in-person interaction, right? So if I take my own personal example, I recently had to return my phone back to Google because it was broken, and I got on a chat with a bot from AI. I explained the problem, and within 5 minutes, I had a return box getting shipped to me, all without ever having to talk to anybody. And for me, it was extremely nice because I didn't have to wait on the hold. I didn't have to talk to anybody that may have had a bad day, and then you get that whole dynamic. It was really intelligent and really intuitive, and we can drive that same interaction inside of our own organizations to help facilitate. And ServiceNow on general thinks that about they have 50% of the most general service requests, incidents, problems taken care of through their use of out-of-box virtual agent interactions. And that's huge if you think about that from an analyst perspective. So, what are some of the advantages of a conversational AI? So, in ServiceNow's terms, speed to deployment, a lot of their conversational AI is out of box and it's quick to deploy. So, they offer a plethora of pre-built templates for a variety of different modules, including, customer service management, field service management, HR, ITSM, of course, and they're able to use natural language understanding to generate that conversational flow to help facilitate interactions between end users and get their requests driven to the correct areas and get their requests facilitated in a pretty seamless manner. So
We
one of
talk
the
about,
things,
oh,
oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Brian.
Nate.
I was just saying we talk about shift left so much, in IT service management and in these scenarios. I think we're seeing that becoming a really accepted scenario, not only in IT, but in our personal lives. Just like you mentioned with returning the box. Like last night, my wife had to return something that she got shipped incorrectly from Amazon. Interacts with the bot, has in 2 seconds has a new product being shipped to her and a refund on the original one. We've gotten so comfortable with this in our personal lives. I think this is a tremendous opportunity to bring this into the employee experience where this can become part of how we serve the everyday requests of our end customers and shift all that opportunity back over to them to be self-empowered. So this is like the tip of the iceberg. The things that we're going to show you, the tip of the iceberg of where the potential exists.
Exactly. Not to mention the seamless integration into a variety of different tools, right? Like a lot of customers are leveraging Slack or Teams. And, what if we didn't want them to go to a portal? What if they could just go to an app inside of ServiceNow and then have them interact with their ticketing system and never have to leave Teams, right? Like that's a huge value add for people that just don't want to context switch, right? Because I know
Hmm.
we all have that going on in our lives where we have to seamlessly context switch daily. So one of the things that I wanted to do is have one of my engineers, or actually two of my engineers, give kind of a demo on what a integration between ServiceNow and OpenAI may look like. Um, Now, given that the announcement of OpenAI and ServiceNow integration was just announced, we decided to kind of front end that and build a little experience so that you could see kind of what that would look like at a how could we leverage this to interact with an end user at a tier 0 capacity and give them helpful suggestions in order to, hey, how can I fix this issue? Or, hey, how can you take a look at this? So I'm going to hand it over to one of my engineers, James, if you want to take over and let's take a look at what OpenAI can do.
Sure. Thank you, Brian. Hello to everyone who hasn't met me yet. My name is James Asbury, and I'm a systems engineer here at Concurrency. And I'm here today to show you how you can use ChatGPT in your ServiceNow environment. Now, of course, this is just one of the many ways that you could end up using ChatGPT in your ServiceNow environment. And we're going to be using it in something called Virtual Agent, which was part of the intelligent experiences that Brian mentioned earlier. So I'm going to take on the role of a user who is just having some Outlook issues. I'm not really looking to create a ticket. I'm just looking to, maybe get a quick resolution out of this. So here I have the ServiceNow service portal open on one of our test instances. And at the bottom right here, I have a virtual agent enabled here. So if I click this, and it's just going to open up a chat window, and it's going to greet me with, "Hello, system administrator, how can I help today?" Now, me being as the user that's having Outlook issues, I'm just going to describe my issue in very few words. I'm just going to say Outlook issues. And what we've configured this to do is to go in our knowledge base and just look for all of the articles that may have something to do with Outlook issues, which it's doing here. So this isn't like anything ChatGPT yet. This is just some base virtual agent ServiceNow stuff that's going on. So it's given us a response. This is our knowledge article. So let's say me as the user, I look at this and say, maybe this didn't help me as much as it should have. So I'm just going to say, was the article helpful? In this case, we'll just say no. And this is where the magic happens. So we've built an integration between ServiceNow's virtual agent and our private Azure OpenAI service, which is basically a private instance of ChatGPT. And we're sending that initial prompt, and it's giving us this response. And here it's saying there are several solutions that can help resolve Outlook issues, and it's really just giving some basic responses, like restart Outlook, repair Office, clear the Outlook cache. Now these are responses that may very well be a response from an L1 team, essentially. So you can kind of consider this as kind of like your L0, your very base team. So this is really just it's not referring to any knowledge articles. This is just pulling it out of almost thin air based on what's currently in ChatGPT. Now, the aim of this isn't really to, fix 100% of the issues. This is really to just help the users that are having, maybe basic issues. It doesn't have to go to a technician anymore. Even if this does end up just solving 10% of the users' issues, then out of 10,000 tickets, that would solve 1,000 tickets. And for me, that's a win in my book. So if you're curious to see how we built this, I have this window over here where we've configured all of the steps that you've seen here. And for those of you familiar with ServiceNow's Virtual Agent Designer, we just configured a simple workflow that looks inside of our knowledge bases. In this case, our initial prompt was Outlook issues. It was looking for our KB articles. And then eventually, if it didn't find a satisfactory knowledge article, then it just goes to our ChatGPT prompt, which is, I imagine, what you would want in any case. Now, this is not to say that, this is all that ChatGPT is going to do in ServiceNow. This is really just scratching the surface of what's possible with ChatGPT. ServiceNow is most likely rolling out with their own stuff, their own integrations, which will be able to utilize your ServiceNow data. But this is just a demo, just to give you a glimpse of what could be possible in the future. So of course, this also requires virtual agent licenses and whatnot for a company to implement this. But I have my colleague here, Matt Ratajczyk. He's going to show you how you can use ChatGPT without having without using virtual agent. Without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Matt. Take it away.
Thank you, James. I'm Matt Ratajczyk, an engineer at Concurrency. With AI, we can implement that level 0 help desk into the catalog itself to quickly resolve tasks, help technicians work on what really matters, and getting the answers that users want. So I've created this item here that acts sort of as like the first line of defense for general requests. So I'll go ahead and just create a simple Outlook and Teams not connecting. Oh. The Outlook and Teams are not connecting, and I have an internet connection. A person would go ahead and submit this item. And the AI goes ahead and automatically generates a response. Sure, here are some solutions you can try. Restarting the computer, check for updates, double check your network connection, enable/disable add-ins. And these are those basic responses that you would probably get from your level 1 help desk anyway. But even if the AI can't resolve the issue, a user can simply say, "This didn't work." And then it will automatically be transferred and sent to your help desk with a list of basic debugging that was already done, helping alleviate basic tasks and helping debug for your technicians ones that get sent to them. And this is just one of the many ways you can use ChatGPT in your ServiceNow instance to reduce man hours and automate the process. I'm going to hand it off to Brian for more on that. So take it away.
Thanks, Matt. So as you can see, there is an extreme amount of flexibility that we can leverage inside of not only ServiceNow, but also trying to reduce the amount of first call interactions that we're getting with either our analyst help desk or people directly calling. It allows for end users to have a seamless interaction, but at least be provided some level of guidance during their interactions with IT. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think one thing that I find really exciting about the way that they built the self-service experience is it sort of builds on each other, right? You have the knowledge base article at the front end. You likely have the ability to inject other capabilities that ServiceNow is building in conjunction with Microsoft and OpenAI that have yet to be released. And then you're also showing that we can inject OpenAI's ChatGPT through an API endpoint right at the tail end of that to be able to answer those questions. And something else that's really interesting about that is that right now, that API endpoint is answering questions in a similar way to which ChatGPT could. But even if all those other things don't answer the question, you might get to a point where you have knowledge that you're generating that's centric to your organization. It's like the language of your business, things that are really important to you that you want to have answered correctly. And in that position, you could even teach that ChatGPT endpoint to answer questions against your unique documentation or your unique language to be able to provide answers that even build on like the simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we gave them. Like that's like cool. We just hit like 10% of the incidents. Now maybe we hit 20%. Now we maybe hit 30%. And you start to transition away from the ways that you had taken those calls before to a point where you're more and more self-empowering. I think that's what's so exciting about it to me is this ability for us to help the user to help themselves, but do so in a way that doesn't feel so sterile as a lot of the self-service experiences that we gave them before, where it was difficult for them to really look it up. And they just said, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to submit the ticket or call the help desk. Like if we make this an experience that they truly want to interact with because it gets them an answer and they know they'll get an answer and they have confidence in that, then we'll further increase the shift left capabilities. And it's just what you just showed is just kind of right at the tip of that idea, and bringing it to real life in companies is going to drive so much benefit. So thanks for digging into that.
Not a problem at all. So the second domain we're going to take a look at is intelligent automation. So it is taking things inside of your instance and driving either automation or driving correlation or driving records to basically build a foundation to which you can take that issue or request and drive it through a means to facilitate that through some mechanism of automation or routed capability such that it moves through the process seamlessly and efficient, right? So we can either do auto routing or do process flow at scale or integrate into third-party tertiary subsystems in order to make that integration seamless such that when they don't have an end user doesn't necessarily have to talk to an administrator or an analyst or get routed through 5 different departments to get one thing taken care of, which I've seen in multiple organizations in my time here. So one of the really cool things that has come out, and this hasn't come out just now. I mean, this has been out for a little bit, is the means of predictive classifications. So being able to take a description that either has come in through an email or the portal or via chat and run that through a prediction API that will help us facilitate, I think this user is talking about this. I think this needs to go to this assignment group. And it is this particular classification, which may be attached to this particular business service. And could even be as far as, I think it's talking about this particular CI, right? This prediction API has the capability to take a look at that incident and run that through the entire data set for your instance and then come up with that classification, which will in turn help facilitate routing. Another thing that we want to work through is workflow automation. So a lot of customers that we've seen are still in the realm of orchestration, and the movement to workflow and flow designer and having a low code, no code process automation platform that not only your internal IT staff can leverage, but also your business units can leverage for either business process automation or internal workflow between business units inside of IT, outside of IT, and ultimately the integration to over 140 different third-party vendors to either integrate with to do specific functions or leverage things in Azure to spin up entire development environments. We had recently did a workflow for a customer that wanted to spin up development environments for specific application workloads inside of Azure. And we used Flow Designer in concert with Terraform and Azure to basically spin up entire development instances and environments for developers that requested it, and ultimately just sent them a username and password and said, here's your environment. And they did that all through a request, right? So now if you take that even in an extreme downsampled scenario, and for things like password resets, AD group additions, access issues, security requests, all those things can be driven through Flow Designer and its tertiary integrations to drive efficiency from just the simple request from something like a portal or a virtual agent request. So another aspect of where we like to take AI and its enhancing of the back-end business processes is something called intelligent optimization. So it's taking a look at your processes and unlocking value and gaining real-time visibility into understanding where your bottlenecks are and getting you to start focusing on what matters. So as we can see, we can take a look at this by, a variety of different areas through things like process automation, performance analytics, which is a core platform capability inside of ServiceNow. And that comes hand with over 300 different KPIs that you can measure everything from, MTTR to resolution times to, problem bottleneck analysis. All of that is done on the back end through machine learning and augmented intelligence to help drive some of those business initiatives forward and really help you focus on what is not enabling your business to streamline your internal processes. So the big thing over the past year that I've really seen a lot of people starting to focus on is starting to focus on their processes. And a new module that has just come out for ServiceNow is something called process optimization, and that enables essentially the visualization and analysis of your process flows with data that's essentially hidden away inside of ServiceNow through things of like, if you've ever taken a look at a ServiceNow incident and you've gone through the history and audit logs of that incident, there's a lot of data there. And most people don't sit there and analyze that data and see. You might go in there to say, oh, hey, who changed this or who modified this? But you really can't get a analysis of an entire process workload just by taking a look at the audit log. But what process optimization does is it takes a look at an entire swath of a particular workload, let's say incident management, and aggregates all of that data into a workbench that you can look at and then understand where bottlenecks are, do root cause analysis. Machine learning will take a look at that data and give you helpful insights as to where you can increase efficiency, where you can increase optimization, find out where things are not routing properly, and effectively, align your values to specific business needs dependent on what your, end goal is as a business.
I think this is one thing that sticks out to me with this is there's a gentleman, Brian Evergreen. He was talking about this idea of not solving problems and instead future solving. And what he meant by that was what would need to be true in order for me to not have this happen anymore? What would need to be true in order for me to change the way that this executes? And where that previous slide showed is how the current process that I'm using breaks down, and where how many of my incidents make it so far, how many of my incidents move it to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage, and gives me the opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a step back and say, let me stop solving problems for a second and let me future solve this process to say what would need to be true for me to reduce it by 50% and for me to look at engaging in a different way. And I think them releasing platforms like this will really challenge us to be able to look at these processes in a way which is bigger than sort of the day-to-day tactical, but lets us think about the way that we're continuing to run this day in and day out, and think about it in a way which is transformative to the business. So if we take advantage of these, we can really implement some really incredible differences in the way that the business takes advantage of the capability and the way that we interact with our end customers. So love this. I love this feature.
Yeah, it's extremely cool, and we're actually going to walk through that here in a few minutes. Another piece of this is something that I'm extremely jazzed about. So process optimization and automation discovery. So what this capability is this will take your workloads and analyze them against not only built-in things from ServiceNow, but also let you see what things in your environment are ripe for automation. And we're going to go through this in short order here, but I just wanted to touch on this because this is extremely beneficial for companies, because I get asked this all the time. Is, you know, we have all of these requests out there. We don't necessarily know what we want to automate. We don't know what it's going to do. We don't know how to drive that value proposition for our C-level executives to make investments into, and this can help with that. So let me stop this really quick, and then I am going to walk through process optimization, and we are going to take a look at exactly what this can do for us. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so what we're taking a look at is the process optimization dashboard. And more specifically, this is just a process optimization demo that I have stood up specifically as it relates to incident management. So what I've done is I've configured it's essentially a condition that says, hey, I want to go take a look at all closed incidents. And you can manipulate this for different results, right? Like if you wanted to move this to something along the lines of, I want to look at this for 30 days. I want to look at this bi-yearly, quarterly. I want to look at this for different metrics or categorizations. You can have this analyze data across a multitude of different constraints and give you the same net benefits, right? So I've analyzed this across just a whole bunch of demo data inside of my instance. So what we're going to see here is not core data that you would see likely in your own instance, because a lot of you probably have instances that have been out here a lot longer than mine have. But the insights here are what I want to pay attention to. So I've let it look at all of my incidents, and I've had it run through a training model that essentially routes it through a whole bunch of algos and gives me back some insights about my data and where we can make efficiency increases, and then gives us the capability to dig into our data and see where particular things may be bottlenecking or where we might have issues in process or people, things of that nature. So if we look down here, there's an area called improvement opportunities, and this is where the machine learning and augmented intelligence really takes shape, because it looked at my data and it's giving me just some improvement opportunities that I can run or look at or look into for my organization in order to increase that efficiency. So if I saw one of these that really spoke to me and was like, oh yeah, I never knew that. Let's take a look at that. You can go through and run cluster analysis. You can run root cause analysis on that process. And if I did this, it'll run in the background and then give me additional insights into how that data was not only gathered, but what the model thinks that those issues may be. And then there's also variation analysis. So it'll take a look at everything inside of your processes and do an analysis based on specific things that it sees. And then we'll aggregate that into a summation of what it thinks may be the proper cause of that particular variation, which I think is extremely cool. And then this is my favorite thing. So this is bottleneck analysis. We all know from anybody that's done any time on a help desk or has been inside of a backend IT help desk that we all have bottlenecks somewhere in our processes where, oh, this categorization wasn't right, or this assignment group wasn't correct, or I didn't know that it went here, it should have gone here, or why did this go on hold and then went back to new? Understanding those and trying to figure out why it happened, it can alleviate some stressors inside not only your backend or IT organization, but also help front end things that you may want to do from maybe something from a routing capability or an intelligence-based transition from one group to another. This can help you analyze that and take a look and see what those can be. So the second thing I want to take you to is the analyst workbench. So here it's taking a look at our incidents closed process and letting us see the transitions between each of these processes and giving you the timing benchmarks between those processes, right? And you can take a look at this, you can drill down, you can go extremely deep. If you wanted to go extremely high level, you can manipulate this so you can see various states of your model. And then you can also increase the detail of your model to really dictate, hey, I'm seeing some recursion here, and this is going from new and going right back and being reassigned to another group. So why may that be? And you can come in here and then again go and run analysis on that specific subset of data and gain insights around it and really start to hone in on maybe there's a specific reason, or maybe there's a specific criteria or people process error that may be shifting your processes in a manner that is making your backend IT organization a lot less efficient. In addition, you can come over here, and if you want to take notes about that, if you have some improvement initiatives through either continual improvement management, you can add these to those continual improvement initiatives where you can iterate over these over time and say, hey, I want to, drive resource usage on the back end down by 50%. I want to have 50% of my IT organization's time spent on initiatives that are going to benefit to IT org, or even outside of IT. It could be a business process specific to something, maybe the legal team's in here and doing workloads, or maybe facilities management is in here doing workloads and they have a specific process. You can benchmark this against any process in your organization as long as it's internal to ServiceNow. Additionally, if you're seeing the need for some sort of automation request, you can drive those from here too. So if you saw, oh, hey, we're seeing a lot of this particular category, being bottlenecked by this assignment group, reassigning it to this other assignment group because they don't necessarily think that it belongs to them. Well, maybe there's an automation opportunity there that we can take advantage of and get to that team to develop for us so we can alleviate that particular bottleneck. And there's also scheduled tasks that can be run. So every time anytime we do like an analysis of our data, we can come here and see what that analysis yielded. right? So I can come in here and I can take a look at the results of that particular analysis. And in this instance, we can come down here and take a look at and say that, oh, hey, a lot of these tickets were solved with a workaround. Well, why is that? Why are a lot of our incidents being solved with workarounds? Do we have a problem deficiency? Are there not enough problems getting created to uh, either look into these workarounds and find out what that root cause is? How can we alleviate that? These are all things that we can kind of dig into with this process optimization tool and really start to garner some insights into how we can either alleviate or by means of automation, transition those into improvement opportunities. And then, of course, my favorite area, automation discovery. So it can take a look at all of my data and automatically tells me, just based on the number of records matched, that there's this email troubleshooting issue that's a manual process now, and it can go to an automated process by means of virtual agent, and the virtual agent bot is ready to go. Like, we can just spin that up and boom, there's an instant improvement for our backend users. Same thing with hardware troubleshooting or data requests, things like that. All of these things can be out of box virtual agent ready to go. Hey, here's out of box canned things that we can do for you. In other areas, it might be something just as simple as going through and creating some automated things or leveraging our open AI to be able to search for articles in a more meaningful manner or giving summations of those articles to our end users. Those are all improvement opportunities that we can take a look at and deep dive into by means of this tool. So that's just a tiny bit about process optimization. Let me come back and showcase the rest of our slides because I think we have some back-end analyst pieces as far as intelligence is concerned that analysts can use and walk through. To walk through that, I have my right-hand man, Dugan, who is going to kind of walk us through some of the back-end agent intelligent pieces that can speed up your agents' interactions with ServiceNow and get the insights they need in order to facilitate proper interactions with their end users. So take it away, Dugan.
Well said. Thank you. So hi, everyone. Mike Dugan, senior systems engineer. Been here for a while, focusing on ITSM, ITOM, SecOps. Happy about AI. Been looking at that recently. Huge opportunities here. That's why we're talking to you about it now. These are, I think we have 3 features for you I wanted to kind of highlight. If you've been to ServiceNow user groups, they talk about underdog features. This isn't really an underdog feature, in my opinion, but this is subtle, but this is huge. So what AI search really is, from what it's really involving is a data set. So machine learning data sets, you've heard that in the past, training a machine learning data set there. And then where is it used and how is it used? So this is across the entire platform. So today, this is your users, I'm sure, go to a portal and they use the search there. There's virtual agent chat. There's a global search in the platform that your analysts use to quickly find tickets. Even in the workspaces, they're using that there. So what we're going to do with this is take that machine learning data model, that giant word corpus, we're going to analyze that entire data set, take what the user is asking of it, so their utterance or their intent, and we're going to correlate some of that to make sure that we get results that are meaningful, they're relevant, they're accurate, and we're going to surface that. So if you think of an end user logging into the service portal like they normally do, they're trying to find something or they're trying to request something, they're going to search for it, right? So they do. And that's AI search here is actually going to go to this machine learning model, run that really quickly by way of indexes and such, and give them relevant results, because we want to have that up front and not have that on the second or third page if you think of like a search engine today. So so it's very smart, it's easy. We're bridging that gap of finding what they need faster and making sure that it is what they're looking for. So what this does search is things that we have configured today in the platform. So this leverages contextual search, so that can find knowledge articles, requests, it can find user data if you really want, task-based information that we know and love, incidents, change, problem. So that's really handy there. If you think about this from kind of like a store perspective. If you're buying something, I know we had Amazon as an example. They've got categorization filters on the side. So if you're looking for shoes, typically you'd filter that down by like size, color, brand. That's a similar experience in the service portal for ServiceNow, where if they're looking for something, they can filter that down maybe by like troubleshooting category or whatever they're looking for. Well, AI search can actually dynamically update those category filters for you, so it becomes more seamless and unified. And it just overall, it gets the user in. They're looking for something specific. It'll surface those results to them. It'll promote the results that should be looked at, that are probably very relevant, that is likely going to resolve their issue, and get them out the door faster. A few other things I mentioned, or that I've seen rather, that aren't on here, I want to highlight. I believe they're looking at, or it might already be in machine learning, typo handling. So they're able to kind of, we all have autocorrect and such on our phones, and you kind of mistype something. Well, it's able to interpret that by way of synonyms and other tables on the back end, and it can actually interpret that and kind of get you what you need, what it thinks you need. And there's autocomplete too. So in the search bar, as you're typing, you can kind of get a very similar response back if you're looking for that specific Outlook issue that you had. And if it finds a knowledge article related to that, you can actually have it autocomplete for the user, which is super handy. Very, very similar to that search engine use case. Agent Assist with Similarity. I love this one. This is very near and dear to my heart. So this is bridging the gap of the agent being in the workspace. And let me back up. So I have a use case of someone being onboarded, a new employee. It's their first day. You can imagine they've got the jitters. They may, have some lack of confidence, but coming into this new org, they may not know either the things that they do or just the processes that they follow. So what this does, that leverages the machine learning model that I referenced before, but it actually gives them contextual search sources like knowledge and other things, requests that they can leverage, and they take the end user's issue and it correlates to existing content by way of short description. So it does a quick lookup. It tries to make that match of Outlook issues to very similar to what we built actually with that demo before. So this really speeds up. If you think of the service level agreements that they have to meet a certain service threshold, right? So by within a priority one incident has to be resolved within an hour. Well, this Agent Assist with Similarity uses that model and finds very relevant sources in the source of knowledge up front, so we can kind of really speed up time to resolve there as a KPI. So that's a big piece there. I think we had one more after this too. Yeah, this is a really good one. This has actually been on the platform for a little while now, but this is really powerful. So this, I think ServiceNow calls this like the everyday language, but this is natural language query. You can find this at lists. You can find this in the reporting engine. I think they got it in like the CMDB area there with a query builder. This is huge. So this is taking normal human language. A user enters a question, or they tell the system what they want to see, and it actually filters the data set down based on that. So we're seeing the emergence of common friendly based queries. Just whether you're a manager, you're a data scientist, data analyst, this is going to bridge that gap where, hey, just get some brainstorming. Show me, open incidents that have been created today. Show me priority one incidents, by this assignment group. So we can really filter that down. Even if you don't know how to use the user interface, I think that's huge. For someone that may not know how to get to somewhere where they need to be in the platform, they may think they're going to break something. This is huge. There's some security behind this. It honors your security roles there, but hey, let's filter this data set down. Let's see if what data you're trying to see. It's big for reporting when you're trying to visualize. And we all know that when we're sending up reports, you don't really get on the first try. So this is huge to just trying to visualize that data and see if it's really what you want. So I went through these kind of quick. There's really good product documentation out there that architecturally shows you how this all ties together. So I definitely recommend that. But 3 big features I wanted to outline here that are huge for AI.
Awesome. Thank you, Dugan.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So essentially what we're doing is we're breaking this down into 3 areas. So what can we do as far as services with AI? We can leverage virtual agent, agent assist, and AI search. What can we do for AI in operations? We can do classification. We can do similarity like agent assist. We can do regression testing and analysis. We can do clustering. And again, uses, routing and alerting, predicting change, predicting issue resolution times, and identifying those cases for where automation is ripe for use. And then for operations specifically, you know, taking a look and mapping your services, taking in events and doing event correlation. And these are just a smattering of the AI capabilities that ServiceNow is leveraging. We haven't even gone into the use cases for ITOM and SecOps and the event correlation that it can do, and really reducing the noise in your environment for a lot of things where third-party applications tend to overwhelm you. ServiceNow is making it a point to not overwhelm you and really give you the specific information that you need right when you need it. Now, I will pause here and let everybody screenshot this, but this is something that I really appreciate, is that this is a breakdown for customers where they are at in their specific journey for different workflows inside of ServiceNow. So if you're thinking customer, CSM workflows, employee and IT for HRSD and ITSM, creator workflows for people who are developing their own applications inside of ServiceNow. This is the maturity model for each of those work streams and where you might be at in your organization. And what I'd be curious to see is, where some of you are at in this area, and if there's any opportunity to move that needle from maybe a level 2 to a level 3 or a level 1 to a level 2. We'd be extremely interested to talk to you about this particular use case, in addition to any road mapping conversations, etc. So now the big question: how can we help? Nate?
Sure, man. All right. So you go to the next slide. I think what's really been common amongst the companies we've been working with that are coming into the AI picture or the optimization picture of ServiceNow is they're falling into one of these three boxes. And most of them are falling into the first one, which is let's just explore where we can start. And one of the best ways to do that is you're getting your broader group of team members together, people who are diverse throughout the business, especially people diverse throughout the IT organization in various roles. And you're letting them step back from the ServiceNow instance in the day to day and explore opportunities for optimization and AI to be applied within the way that IT responds and engages the business's questions. And in a sense, you're kind of broadening the tent of where those opportunities exist, and you're enabling them to envision. And every time we run those sessions, we come out with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 ideas from these broken into pods to be able to come up with a list of top 5, top 6 per group. And those are tremendous ways for organizations to kind of take a look at that ServiceNow instance and say, how can I really bring it forward into a place that's going to drive my time to resolution down, to create efficiency within the way I serve my customers, and to create ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So that's a really great way to start. You start off with idea of the possible, you help people to understand what they can potentially do, and you get them thinking about places where that efficiency can be derived. The next step is where a company has sort of that target scenario of someone already picked out, or they're evaluating between a couple. Like, I want to help virtual agent be part of my portfolio of how I serve my customers. Or have never really looked at how my standard processes run, and I do this thousands and thousands and thousands of times a year, and I really haven't looked at it to be able to think about how I can do it better. Or maybe I haven't really thought about the process of driving my agent side collaboration down and helping them to be more efficient. Picking a scenario, looking for the business value, trying to create a way to optimize the process that they're driving every single day. Once you've come up with that scenario, making sure it's the right one, that you have the right data, that you do it enough. That's another great place to start. And then third is you just essentially are piloting it. You're saying, all right, cool. If I'm going to roll out a chat experience for my end customers, let's roll out the chat experience in a pilot group, see how they react, see what the experience is like for them. Help me to drive it from a MVP to a full iteration that my entire business is getting value from. Gathering the data from that experience, driving it back into an iteration of it, and continuing to improve. So all of that leads toward essentially driving the business value through a pilot and then moving into production implementation of any of these scenarios that we talked about today. So if any of this is interesting to you, we'd love to start with one. We'll invest in you to make sure that that's worthwhile. That's something that we'll do just to engage and help to have you have more education about how this relates to your business and envision opportunities, and then drive through opportunity number two and number three as we start to really narrow in on what is the best value for an organization to be able to advance their ServiceNow environment. So tremendous opportunity for us to be able to help you to achieve more from your ServiceNow environment, and to do so in a way that hopefully differs from the way that we've been doing this for the last 60 years, right? This all these are traditional ways we've been interacting with IT and providing these sort of interactions. This is really a way for us to game change it and to, in a sense, make it very common with the way that we've interacted with businesses, and become very comfortable with that in our personal life, interacting with platforms. So please fill out the form before you leave today. We really appreciate your time. We're thankful for the opportunity to be able to show you some of these new capabilities within ServiceNow and how you can integrate. We hope you have a great rest of the day, and make sure you fill out the form before you take off. Thanks.